Well, what's going on, gang? Welcome back to A Therapeutic Edge. It's very nice to have you here today. I enjoy being wrong. I mean, no really more or less than the next person, but I don't mind being wrong, particularly when it comes to knives. So, a few years ago, when the original AD20s dropped, I had one very much like this on the channel. It was the 3V, it was full titanium. I don't remember if it was this blade shape or not. And my response was sort of meh. Couple of reasons. One, back then I was really into kind of fancier looking knives, if that makes any sense. I was doing a lot of, back then I was doing a lot of Wee and Riot. And the price really kind of got to me. I didn't have a lot of American-made knives, and back then you could get, really amazing, Wee knives and Riot knives for $250, $275 in titanium and fancy blade steels. In the intervening years, my collection tastes have changed, my use has changed, and my interest has changed. And so, a while back, I got a hold of a 20.5. This one's an S35VN. This is the Demko carbon fiber. It's got a little bit of texture to it. And I love this knife. I just do. And I really, really love the shark lock and the action. I, of course, also have been adding more Demko by way of, additional cold steels. The full titanium and 3V edition of the AD10 is as close to one of his custom AD10s as I'm ever going to get. So, with that being the case, I decided to hunt up another AD20. And the first one I came across was actually not this one. It was this one. And this is the AD20S, so it's thinner, right? A little bit thinner through the handle, and blade stock is much thinner. And this is his drop point, which almost is more of a spear point. This is a fantastic knife. These are OG scales. These are aluminum. And it came with this really nice Lynch deep carry clip on it. And I thought, okay, let's get one and see how we like it. So I got it and really, really liked it. It's everything that I enjoy about the 20.5, just bigger, right? Just a little more my size. I like big knives. So then I thought maybe I should give the original, the thick scale 3V version, another shot. Only I couldn't find anyone that I knew that had one to borrow. So I hunted this one up, and I think this came from either Blade Traders, Arizona Custom, I can't remember. I thought, well, that's pretty cool. So now I have two. And then about a month ago, 3 weeks ago, on one of the knife groups that I belong to, somebody shared that Blade HQ had AD20Ss in S90V. And that brought that home. Now, these aren't the original scales. This came with white G10. And so I don't like that. So I went on to the Demko website, and he had these gray Grivery or Grivex Grivery, I think is what they call it, plastic scales, but that makes it really light. So now I have three. I went from not liking the AD20 to having three, and it's this thing's fault. The 20.5 is a fantastic pocket knife. Lightweight, great action, super comfortable to hold and use, but I just like bigger knives. What didn't I like originally? Well, first, I still don't love knives, pocket knives, in non-stainless blade steel. pocket knives go in the pocket. I know that's shocking, but they do. That means there's sweat and there's moisture, basically. And so if you're carrying a pocket knife with a blade that isn't at least a little bit resistant to sweat and to being damp, it's just an excessive amount of additional work. That's my feeling. Your experience may vary. But I've had this AD10, the full tie edition, in 3V for quite a while, and it just wasn't a problem. So my thinking shifted a little bit. I'm glad I own this. It's cool. It's the full-size, thick, chunky, original sort of beast mode knife from Demko. But I'll tell you, these are where it's at. The S offers everything that the original AD20 does in a slightly more pocket-friendly package. The amount of available aftermarket scales for these things is outrageous. You got to be willing to pay for the privilege. These are both about $450, which is not insignificant. But for all American made, these materials, I'm down with it. You don't have to be, but I am. Now, I have different scales for these coming. I have, well, you'll just have to wait and see. But suffice to say, I have a set of aluminum scales in a color that I like more than this, and eventually, whenever the build is complete, a set of full tie scales for these. And that makes me happy. So let's talk about what you get for your $450. First and foremost, you get all American-made Demko design, which is really hard to beat. The drop point blade is a little harder to come by, but I love it because it is a full, well, essentially a full flat grind. And on that thinner blade stock, it makes what is a beast mode knife into a really excellent slicer. The clip point here, a little less slicey because where how big the flat is, but an S90V, that is a hell of a blade. Now, the Demko design allows you to, much like on the AD10, it allows you to come forward carefully on the blade. It's not really a forward choil because it's only one side, but there's definitely a finger spot here, so you can come forward if you're going to work up close. The grip from behind is, of course, just absolutely locked in. Now, my hand fills this thing completely. My hands are large-ish. Not as big as they used to be, but they're pretty big. So if your hands are bigger than mine, you may not love this. I do. I've always said, and it comes from the AD10, that is a little bit like Demko and I have very similar sized hands. I can just tell from his designs. Even his smaller knives fit me really well, which means at some point when he was designing his stuff, he held it and went, yep, that works. It does work. I love the shark lock. I love the triad lock too, of course, but the shark lock and all of the imitators that have come along is just one of the best, most interesting locks to happen in a very long time in the knife world, and on a knife that is a little more pocket friendly than the original monster, it just makes for a combination of excellent daily user and some fun. I mean, don't get me wrong, fidgeting a Demko knife is, well, it kind of makes it worth it. Should you get one? Well, I don't know. They are expensive. And then you get into the aftermarket world where now you're paying for scales and clips. And I have to say, the stock Demko clips, much like on the AD10s, you'll notice that this has got a aftermarket deep carry on it. Even this has got an aftermarket deep carry on it. I do not like his clip designs. But these are $30 improvements. Scales are another matter. The Grivery scales, I think, are $25 on his website. His G10, I think, is $100. And to get tie scales from OG or any of the other companies is, it's a couple of $100. So you're going to want to know for sure that that's something you want to do. As a knife collector and someone who carries a pocket knife every single day, I know what I like and I know what I'm after. Right? The fact that Benchmades are $400 plus now, which is ridiculous, but they are. We knives are running, between $300 and $400 and $500 for their make. Budget, the lower end Kaisers are $175, $200 now. What's happened is his knives have stayed kind of the same price, or even a little less with the S models than used to exist, and everything else has come up sort of in the middle. So what used to be crazy is now less so. So if you're looking for a durable, tough pocket knife from an American company, not Cold Steel, that's made elsewhere, but Demko knives, hang on. Sorry about that. Yeah, so if you want an American-made knife in great materials, they're out there. Now, they are still sort of small batch. You do have to chase them a little bit, but they show up on the aftermarket fairly quickly, and sometimes the prices are not ridiculous. He apparently made a compact version of this full-size thick boy. Those are $1,500, but if you're going to get a compact version, get a 20.5, and you can get it in fantastic materials. Anyway, I was wrong. I did not enjoy this originally, and in the intervening years, I have not only had a chance to sort of experience and carry a lot more Demko design, but I've come to really appreciate what he did originally, and the fact that he then went ahead and released knives that were this, but a little different. In fact, while the AD10, where did I put that? Well, the original AD10, and this is the original hollow ground cold steel edition, this has long been my, if I could only keep one knife. This lives in my go bag, right? I know this knife is not going to fail me. S35VN, done by Cold Steel. It's really well done. The way this thing feels, the fact that this hollow ground edition is so damn slicey, this is my forever knife. If I had to get rid of everything else, I would keep this. However, now there is a legitimate new contender, and it is the AD20S in S90V. Or in MagnaCut. Ha, that was funny. Either one of these fits in the same space as this. You see, that S35VN blade, particularly the hollow ground, means that this is as good in the kitchen as it is in the field. It's not going to rust or stain or take color. I mean, you could, but you'd really have to work at it. The Cold Steel build on the AD10 here is nigh on to indestructible. However, the same, I think, can be said for the AD20S. Now, these are $450. These are often as low as $130. So you have to make that call. But if you're looking for a knife that feels fantastic to hold and use, that is going to survive, that is weather resistant. Now, there is a little spring in here, and this is steel, of course, so you're going to want to keep them clean, but same is true of this. I think you should hunt one of these up. I know I'm happy I did. I will come back and share these with you again when I get the other scale sets that I've ordered. And that's really all I wanted to say today. Oh, you know what? Let's weigh them. Let's do some basic stuff. Let's do the basic specs. If you're still there after almost 15 minutes, thank you. Let's do some stuff. So what do you get? Well, let's do the drop point here. The drop point, you get 3¼ inches of cutting on a little over 3½ inches of, in this case, MagnaCut. The grip area is 3 3/4, which for me is about, if it was any smaller, it would be tight. Tip to tail, we are looking at 8 1/2. Closed length, 5, just at 5, right? In the pocket profile's not bad. It's got a couple of things that stick. I mean, it's big knife, so you're looking at 1 3/4. You're going to know it's there for sure. I really recommend the deep carry clips from Lynch Northwest. They really make, particularly the 20S, they make it just a much more subtle and excellent carry. The S90V edition has the same blade. It's just a slightly different shape. If you're looking for one that's super slicey, if they ever release these again, I would look for the drop point here, but I do enjoy both. Weight. Now, this isn't really a fair thing because neither one of them has stock scales on them. So let's just weigh them anyway. With the Grivery scales on here, the clip point comes in at 5 ounces even. With the titanium scales, 5.8, aluminum scales, 5.8 ounces. But by way of comparison, the bone stock full tie 3V thick boy is 8.1 ounces, right? So, yeah, huge difference. And then finally, how the 20s do have thinner blade stock, but how much thinner? So let's zero this out. And we are 186 thousandths versus 133 thousandths. Let's do millimeters. Let's do millimeters on this American knife just because it's entertaining. So this is 3.35 millimeters, and the thick boy here is 4.83 millimeters. So they really, really brought this thing down to a much more manageable and pocketable size. And that's it. A long time ago, your humble host did not enjoy the 8020. Somewhere along the line, my tastes and interests changed enough that now not only do I enjoy it, but I have a collection of them. That's the way it goes sometimes. I will say again that if you're interested, get one. Find yourself one of the 8020S's. It is a fantastic, that was embarrassing. It is a fantastic, that was funny, daily carry in great materials. If you're looking for an absolute beast, go out and find yourself one of the OG thick boys. You can't go wrong. Anyway, thanks for watching. I've been A Therapeutic Edge. These have been my 8020s and my 8020.5, just because it's on the table. I appreciate your time. And if you have any questions about these knives or any of my knives, feel free to ask down in the comments below. We'll see you next time.